Okay, so this is the fourth segment of the introduction to the Divine Heart Principle text through video recording. And so hopefully you've been following from segments 1, 2, 3, and again, this is segment 4. Now, regrettably, Heavenly Father and Mother could not recover Heavenly Parents' Divine Heart Principle. Instead, they conducted their course based on their interpreted theology, identifying themselves as the true parent of heaven, earth, and humankind, primarily inspired by Christianity's messianic idea of a semi-divine creature in Jesus, which the Christian God was supposed to have intervened in the fallen history to create for human salvation. As stressed repeatedly from the vantage point of the Divine Heart Principle, such a messianic idea is unprincipled. When they should have properly comprehended what it meant for their position to be the sinners of all sinners to date, Father and Mother conducted themselves as if they were the 100% manifestation of God, which is an impossibility in Heavenly Parents' Heart Principle. By assuming such a status, however, they had in fact evaded the human portion of the responsibility. First, to recognize their own sinful status inherited from the previous people, and that they too had to work their 5% human portion to get rid of inherited sins and not to make any additional sinful conditions. Instead of focusing on gaining human perfection for themselves and aiding others to create an ever greater human portion of the foundation of perfected human beings, Father and Mother's energies were spent on creating a minimum set of conditional gestures in place of human perfection in deeds. During the Old Testament age, when human perfection could not be expected as the center of Heavenly Parent's creation, or each person the true temple of Heavenly Parent, from whom Heavenly Parent could relate to the rest of the creation, Heavenly Parent had no choice but to ask the Israelites to build a physical temple in place of perfected human beings, befitting fallen humanity's status comparable to the low-level physical-only creations. However, at the time of the worldwide cosmic level expectation, such as Father and Mother, the family, and the movement's course, not the physical structures of a temple or a palace, but each human being must be a true temple of Heavenly Parent. What Heavenly Parent desires is never mere physical structures, temples, or palaces. When Heavenly Parent is the origin of all in creation, and everything created ultimately belongs to Heavenly Parent. What Heavenly Parent longs for is the multiplication of perfect human beings, each person as sum of the whole creation. This is what Adam and Eve failed to achieve. Regardless, Father and Mother utilized an enormous physical resources that should have been properly invested in Heavenly Parent's Divine Heart Principle-centered educational purposes for succeeding generations into each building a grand palace, thinking such physical structures could somehow serve as some conditions to move the providence forward. They also placed themselves as the king and queen of heaven, earth, and humankind in their palaces, even though Heavenly Parent had already objected to monarchy, which is another form of human inequality since the time of the Old Testament age. Such thinking coming from the Old Testament age is, of course, inappropriate and inadequate for the worldwide cosmic level expectational course like ours in the 20th century and continuing on to the 21st century. Father and Mother's main work involved exclusively external activities such as public speeches, rallies, and tours, and conferences, and marriage blessing ceremonies to simply proclaim themselves the messianic couple for the salvation of humanity. However, by investing exclusively on these external activities, they neglected to create the dual-positioned internal and external foundations needed to balance the restoration process. As stated earlier, the internal foundation should have proceeded from first the recovery of the divine heart principle, and with it, the reinstatement of equal human value and responsibility with father and mother themselves as the true individual foundation, followed by the true family foundation of the first of the Cain and Abel positioned children, and then the multiplication of true families or true clan foundation, which would have been the blessed families of the movement. In the divine heart principle, the internal position must precede that of the external, as the internal of the internal and external dual position shares the prior position with the divine heart principle, which in turn precedes the true love multiplication of the whole creation. As such, when the internal foundation is non-existent or severely broken, however ostentatious and loud the external activities may have been for the time being, those external activities alone could never have created the balanced and stable foundation required for the worldwide cosmic level course. Of the above external activities, father and mother were particularly involved in granting more and more people conditional marriage blessings in the name of purifying their sinful lineages and engrafting them onto the true lineage of God through their persons. The problem, however, was that as father and mother's increasing demand for more couples to participate in successive wedding ceremonies grew, the focus shifted away from helping each couple achieve human perfection and create a true family. Instead, the aim became simply to bring in a conditional number of couples who agreed to attend the wedding ceremonies for various reasons. Thus, the movement membership had to work hard to meet the required number of couples for the next mass wedding ceremony, often reaching out to meet the required number of people from wherever they could find. Once each of the mass weddings and other external activities and ceremonies were completed, father and mother swiftly proclaimed that they, in their capacity as the true parents of heaven, earth, and humankind, have made the incredible providential condition or advancement forward by creating further ground for human salvation, not only on the international and global scale in the physical world, but in the cosmic realm of the spirit world as well. Nevertheless, there is a great schism between simply performing consecutive mass weddings and continuously helping all the wedding participants become embodiment of Heavenly Parents' ideal through human perfection. As the central figures of humanity's internal lineage at the time of the worldwide cosmic level course, father and mother's original mission was not just to perform conditional marriage ceremonies to as many people they could locate from wherever, without taking parental responsibility for each person to gain the ideal of human perfection. In Heavenly Parents' ideal, any true parents have a heart principle, true love, parental responsibility to consistently make efforts to help each child attain human perfection, even if a child fails to achieve individual perfection by the age of 21 years old due to the child's 5% free will portion. The ideal true parents must be clear about Heavenly Parents' absolute heart principle in that if many who receive the conditional marriage ceremonies have not attained human perfection, they cannot claim those numbers of people as being the true foundational offering representing the human portion that could somehow move Heavenly Parents' providence forward. Besides, when there are angels who comprehend the heart principle and can judge human beings accordingly, after not having delivered the parental portion, Heavenly Parent, father and mother cannot declare an inadequate human foundation to be what Heavenly Parent of the perfection of the absolute heart principle could partake in as his and her own. In addition, when father and mother's fundamental mission was to recover equal human value for every human being, since their main focus had been to elevate themselves comparable to Christianity in inspired, semi-divine, messianic creatures, and not about human equality, they simply perpetuated the patriarchal culture, which was never Heavenly Parents' ideal, but only a consequence of Adam and Eve's dissimilar sins on the individual level that created imbalance between mankind and womankind during fallen history. obliviously perpetuating the male-female inequality as if it were Heavenly Parents' norm. They mistreated their daughters as if they were of lesser human value, while spoiling their sons as heavenly princes who have the right to access all the physical and human resources. Father and mother also had a weakness for sycophants, who lavished them with praise, unaware that this was how the sycophants manipulated them to get what they wanted. Regrettably, this situation suited father and mother's messianic true parents' theology, as they deemed themselves the 100% manifestation of God Himself. Since they believed that no one should object to whatever they said or did, as it would be criticizing God, they naturally preferred people who never seemed to oppose them, but instead glorifying them with ceaseless praise and accolades. One such master sycophant is Chung Hwan Kwak, who knew how to exploit father and mother's weaknesses for his own advantage, advancing himself into father and mother's inner circle to gain full control over them. Once in father and mother's inner circle, he plotted and manipulated father and mother to giving their third son, Hyunjin, to Kwak's daughter in a marriage blessing, and through this, and by making Hyunjin the front man, Kwak and his group have stolen most of the movement's assets by using secular laws. It is said that they have deposited $500 million under the name Kingdom Investment Fund in a Swiss bank in Zug. This is only a part of what they have stolen, as they have other assets and businesses all over the world. Kwak and Hyunjin claim that Hyunjin is the heir to Father Moon's mission to create one family under God, and that Hyunjin provides the vision for what they call the Korean dream of North and South unification. Hyunjin also openly criticizes the movement's leadership and Korean society's chaebol or business dynasty system as being corrupt. However, he fails to acknowledge that he himself has been the very product of such a culture where he enjoyed nothing but privilege, indulgence, and excess without lifting a finger from the day he was born as one of the sons in line for so-called succession. With the vast stolen assets under their sway, Kwak and Hyunjin have lured many movements members with employment opportunities. For these members, since father and mother never taught them the divine heart principle, they lack an understanding of father and mother, their family, and the movement's original 20th century mission, and that the patriarchal culture and the practice of patrilineal succession are never Heavenly Parents' ideal. Sadly, despite all the chaos and divisions in the movement, which indicate that something is irrefutably wrong, they would rather not question the fundamental causes of the chaos and instead prioritize financial security to whoever provides it for them. It is truly regrettable that the money Heavenly Parent initially granted to the movement and that also the members also contributed towards is not being used to promote Heavenly Parent's absolute ideology of the heart principle for the education of movement's lineages to become true examples before humanity for complete restoration. In 2010, Father Moon, who had once appointed the third son Hyunjin as his successor, changed his mind and with Mother Moon named their seventh son, Hyungjin, as the inheritor to the true parents and crowned him the next successor. At that time, Hyungjin appeared to be obediently following them. However, once Father Moon ascended and Mother Moon took control over the movement, Hyungjin, along with his elder brother Gukjin, revolted against Mother Moon and together left the movement to form a splinter group called the Sanctuary Church, where they worship firearms, particularly the AR-15, as Christian Bible's proverbial rod of iron. Earlier, since Gukjin had a business interest, father and mother had given him a firearms company. father and mother, initially began the firearms company in Korea with the intent to combat communism, particularly the aggression of North Korea bordering South Korea. But Hyungjin and Kukjin have redefined the worship of firearms to a whole new level where these violent weapons become what they insist are the quote-unquote God-given tools to protect the earth from communists and political Satanists and those seeking to rape and pillage one's family. With such an extreme message promoting lethal weapons at the helm of their ministry, these two have established their firearms company to become a financial base to recruit movements, membership with employment, and create an independent community of their own to pursue their unprincipled interpretation of reality even further. From the perspective of Heavenly Parent's divine heart principle, however, as Heavenly Parent is the being of eternal life, Heavenly Parent was never the initiator of murder and violence, as well as the introduction of all sorts of murderous weapons that entered fallen humanity. It was Adam and Eve's parental failure that allowed it, Cain's murder of Abel, to be the imitative model for fallen humanity, for the perpetuation of murder and violence. Thus, it is genuinely fallacious for Hyungjin and Kukjin to insinuate that God condones murderous weapons in any way as quote-unquote God-given tools. On the contrary, violent weapons are simply the byproduct of the human fall in Adam and Eve's family with Cain's murder of Abel and continuous failure of the human portion to restore Heavenly Parent's ideal of the some value and responsibility in each human being equivalent to the whole creation and for humanity to become true siblings to each other centered on Heavenly Parent's heart principle. So far, the Sanctuary Church has made startling pronouncements. Hyungjin has declared himself the second king of Cheonilguk on the basis that he is the crown successor by the male messiah, Father Moon. To validate Hyungjin's second kingship over the movement and humanity in their created reality, Hyungjin and Kukjin have been working hard to denigrate Mother Moon in the movement. To advance their cause, they have renamed their own mother, quote unquote, the mysterious harlot of Babylon who engages in obscene acts. Worse still, instead of their mother, Hyungjin and Kukjin have paired their deceased father, Father Moon, with another woman, Hyunsil Kang, obviously without Father Moon's consent, in the position of true mother. By doing this, they ignore the simple biological fact that their very own existence was prompted only by both father and mother's sides of the lineages coming together in marital and sexual union, not just Father Moon's with anyone else's. This sort of claim that only the father's side of the lineage matters and that the mother's side can be any woman is an archaic patriarchal view of the Old and New Testament ages when fallen humanity was ignorant of the Heavenly Parent's external, especially scientific knowledge. Surely they fail to comprehend in the current era, schooled in modern science, Heavenly Parent allowed it if they pair Father Moon with another woman and call them true parents. It actually makes them, Hyunjin and Kukjin, bastards, since they are not the biological end products of the unique sets of genetic traits from Father Moon's side and the other woman's side of the lineage's sexual union. Hyungjin and Kukjin's shocking behavior toward their mother is only a glimpse of the patriarchal cultural conditioning they received consciously and unconsciously throughout their lives. In a patriarchal culture, such as Korean Confucian culture, from which the movement initially began, women are mere links servicing the mechanics of connecting the generations in a patrilineal lineage system. Christianity, which has tremendously impacted the movement's culture and theology, has also been predominantly patriarchal. Not only does it have a male God and a male Messiah, but also the major teachers of Christianity, such as Augustine and Aquinas, heavily swayed by the Greek thought, have all held opinions on the inferiority of women. All three sons of father and mother, Hyunjin, Bukjin, and Hyungjin, are the products of a long history of patriarchal culture within the movement, in which daughters and women in general have consistently been treated as having lesser value. On the contrary, just because they were born sons, they were raised to be special princes with access to power and resources. These sons have always arrogantly claimed their legitimacy as the next male heir in line for patrilineal succession, while dismissing the heavenly parent given equal value and responsibility of women. In doing so, they want to turn the clock back to the patriarchal culture of old and regress restoration history, which is a despicable affront to heavenly parent's undying hope for the complete restoration through human perfection. Even after the death of Father Moon, the arch-patriarch of the movement, the unending cause of the perpetuation of patriarchal culture and dismissal of women's equal value and responsibility to men in the movement is precisely because Mother Moon, a woman herself, is a product of such a culture. Although she is a woman who could have easily changed the male-dominated dynamics of the movement once Father Moon passed, the movement remains unchanged, with the persistence of male-dominated leadership and patriarchal culture precisely because Mother Moon's interest is not correcting men and women's inequality, but on singularly elevating herself as the Christianity-inspired semi-divine, only begotten daughter of God, or Holy Mother Han. Many women who have lived their entire lives in such a culture of sex and gender inequality have blindly internalized this prejudice, as if it were a norm and perpetuated onto their own daughters without forethought. And Mother Moon is no exception. She did not seek to understand why perpetuating such an imbalance is unprincipled, and it requires immediate restoration, especially during the worldwide cosmic level expectational course, such as ours. She has not questioned why the man and woman's inequality entered fallen reality, with Eve's double sin as opposed to Adam's single sin, and that is what she, the central parental woman position, at the time of the worldwide cosmic level course, must fulfill with her first daughter for the womankind's sides of restoration. She also has not established the individual foundation of faith and substance to reach Heavenly Parent, especially Heavenly Mother, to learn the divine heart principle and comprehend the importance of man and women's equality in the complete image of Heavenly Parent, who assumed sex, gender balanced Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother status once she chose to create. Part 3 of the Divine Heart Principle text traces the 2,000 years of indemnity period centered on Christianity, linking the third try first attempt worldwide cosmic level course to that of the third try second attempt, and also explicates Father and Mother, their family, and the movement's step-by-step restoration mission in the 20th century. Part 4 of the Divine Heart Principle text explains the Heart Principle true love logic that when Father and Mother neglected to carry out their specific providential mission of complete restoration, how it was possible for their first daughter to at least accomplish what would have been the initial part of their mission, or the recovery of the Divine Heart Principle, by going through successive indemnity courses and finally linking their failed third try second attempt course to the third try third attempt worldwide cosmic level course involving multi-generations. To correctly perceive this situation, one must refer to the core concepts of the Divine Heart Principle, the inseparable dual, individual and collective, positioned existential identity of every creation. Father and Mother were the product of the respective Moon, Kim, Han, Hong clans from Korea, representing the East that was selected after the incompletion of Jesus and his bride's course, centering on the West to continue humanity's internal lineage after the 2,000 years of indemnity period before the third try second attempt course in the 20th century. This also meant that even if father and mother did not succeed in their mission on the individual level, as they were the collective extension of the above providential internal lineages that created them, if their first child or the first daughter, who is equally the same collective extension of those lineages, was able to establish a specific foundation benefiting the third try second attempt course, Heavenly Parent could not yet abandon the foundation. One crucial criteria is that when Heavenly Parent could not complete, father and mother could not complete their individual missions, it could only have been the merit of their first child's effort on the collective level that made the extension course possible. This is because at the time of Heavenly Parent's expectation for the complete restoration or up to the worldwide cosmic level course, when each human being's value must be restored equal to the whole creation by the deeds of the central figures representing the first human parents or father and mother at that time, if the parents failed on the individual level and their first child also failed due to parental dereliction of responsibility on the collective level, the end outcome of the failure of the first child would be equivalent to the failure of the whole creation. In this case, the parents and the lineages that created them on the collective level would no longer have another opportunity for central position in an extension course, with the same lineages represented by any of the succeeding second, third, etc. children and their lineages. This is because only the first child belongs to what would have been the true family foundation, the fundamental unit for the collective level foundation. Other second, third, etc. children belong in what would have been the true clan foundation, which cannot be established without the true family foundation. This is why, had the failure occurred for both the parents and the first child, there would have been no way to extend the third attempt multi-generational course after the non-deliverance of the third try second attempt worldwide cosmic level course. This would obviously be news to many people in the movement, since over the course of the movement history, father and mother freely appointed this or that among their sons, and now Mother Moon promoting her failed first son's second wife's sons as father and mother's heirs. However, the movement is not like a secular dynasty conglomerate in which a male child who has gained favor with parents in power claims the next place in line for succession. This is a providential foundation that began with Heavenly Parent. If there is a failure in the human portion within the designated time frame and there is no chance through the extension course via the first child position lineage, Heavenly Parent must depart the lineage. If father and mother failed their contract period with their first child position failed as well, Heavenly Parent can never use father and mother, the individual persons, their lineages from Korea, or any of the other foundations connected to the third try worldwide cosmic level course, which includes what was prepared for Jesus and his bride's third try first attempt course, the 2,000 years of Christian indemnity history centering in Europe, as well as third try second attempt course in the 20th century, including all the nation setups for the national and worldwide level foundations. In other words, if father and mother fail their original mission in the 20th century, they can never appoint anyone on their own to continue the very mission they no longer have the right to. When Adam and Eve failed their portion within the given time frame, Heavenly Parent could not use their individual persons for restoration. Instead, Heavenly Parent tried to work with Adam and Eve's children, or Cain and Abel, for restoration, but this also failed. Since Adam and Eve's family's course was the first try worldwide cosmic level course representing the fate and direction of humanity, for the second try, the entire humanity had to pay an indemnity period, time change of suffering in ignorance of Heavenly Parent's purpose of creation and human value and responsibility in it, before Heavenly Parent could begin the second try with Noah, his wife, and their family from a different location, space change. Notice, because the physical world where human perfection must first establish is confined by time and space, dual-positioned limitations. When the failure occurs to the central human foundation and there is no possibility for an extension through lineage, a conditional time change in the form of indemnity period and space change or change in locale must be paid before Heavenly Parent could re-engage with unrestored human foundation. This is in addition to another time-space changes, indemnity conditions involving the respective shortening of human lifespan and flood judgment conditions that had to be paid before the second try for Adam and Eve's subversion of the cosmic four-position foundation of conditionally lowering human value below other creations, which is discussed in Chapter 3 of Part 1 of the Divine Heart Principle text. Thank you. This ends the fourth segment of the introduction to the Divine Heart Principle text. So there's one more, so please stay tuned. Thank you.